Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Shoot. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Red Dawkins. With me tonight, Billy Beeman and Jake Kornblum. What's going on, guys?
That's a first. I don't think we've had one of those, like a stoppage right in the middle of the intro. But that's good. Good stuff.
My
You
light
kept
was
it
blinking
pushing.
like I was on mute, but I've been talking to you this whole time, so I was like,
No, you were good. That's
uh,
that's professional right there. Just blew right through it, got right back into it. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm doing less well than I have been just because I'm coming off of a Patriots Super Bowl loss. But other than that, I'm very excited to get into some more prospect profiles, recap a little bit of the Concepcion conversation before we get into some new ones. But yeah, man, how you doing, Jake? You enjoy that Super Bowl? I guess unless you're a Seahawks fan, probably hard to enjoy it. But
I don't know. I had this conversation with my dad. Like, I think there's a lot of hate for these, like, oh, the game was too defensive. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes it is fun to actually see like a different approach to the game where a lot of times there's just like so many blowouts. It did feel like a relatively competitive game for the most part. There was a moment in the fourth quarter where there was a chance for the Pats to actually score on that one drive where May overthrew. I forgot who it was. I think it was everybody. I don't even know if you could tell.
I don't know
who
if
the
he
target was.
overthrew or underthrew. There was
Yeah,
two guys
true.
there, and you don't know who the ball was to. So that was his worst play of the night for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. It came at the worst time too. So yeah, I think all in all, I enjoyed it as a neutral. It was nice. I made wings. It was a great day. Ate way too much. Felt like absolute dog shit. Fell asleep at like 12:30 my time because my body couldn't digest the food properly. So I was killing it. What about you, Ryan?
Well, I think the best play of the game was made by rookie Kyle Williams tackling that streaker.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So good for him. That was exciting.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, there is I feel like some dynasty related conversations that kind of come out of this. I mean, we did talk throughout the playoffs or heading into the playoffs, like the outcome bias stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And coming out of a game like this, obviously Drake May is going to have some negativity surrounding his name, leading into the offseason. Did not put on a good performance. Obviously, you can say that, he saw ghosts or he wasn't seeing the field or he wasn't getting the ball out fast enough. There's plenty of things we can say about it. I haven't looked. I can pull up the keep trade cut here really quick, but I'm assuming he's still up. Let's see. He's third overall in dynasty rankings, Superflex. Yeah, so he's third overall still.
Wow, so he took a hit.
Yeah, big hit. one position drop. It's Josh Allen, Bijan Robinson, and Drake May there. Do we think he should still be there? Are we concerned about this at all? Do you think that there's like a buy window with this kind of thing?
I think it's mostly noise. But even I find myself just throwing shade at May all day Monday, just for no real reason because I like him. But I'm like, yeah, fuck this guy. This is what.
It's fun to hate the Patriots, Yeah,
it is, But I've been rooting for May all season for the most part. So I think it's just reactionary. I don't think his fall is going to be that far.
Fair.
I just don't. Yeah.
Jake, you think any different thoughts there? What do you think?
No, I'm just honestly surprised that Bijan Robinson is number one in Superflex in keep trade cut. I feel like that's a very weird
number two behind Josh Allen, but yeah.
Oh, on my screen he's number one. Okay, well maybe I refreshed it. Okay, he's still whatever. I don't know. But regardless.
Oh no, you're right. That was what's funny is it was 23 minutes ago he wasn't number one, so things are changing. It's his value is 3 points from Josh Allen. It's going to flip quite a bit.
Yeah, some 6-year-olds decided to say that they would rather hold Bijan instead of Josh Allen, and then it just. But yeah, no, it's man, yeah. I think if there is any potential opportunity, it would be right now. I think I talked about this a little bit in the Discord actually today. There was a lot of negative, I guess you can call it recoil, from Pat Mahomes post his last Super Bowl performance that was not as successful. And we saw it. It happened. It hit his ADP in startup ADP. And people were able to get Pat Mahomes at a pretty large discount, which to me just means that there's an opportunity probably right now for you to go out there and potentially try and acquire Drake May for a slight discount from what you could have gotten him for probably a month ago, 2 weeks ago. And so if that is someone that you're targeting, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think despite that number 3 ranking, keep trade cut's probably still going to be opportunity to get him for what seems to probably be cheaper than that, So definitely agree with Jake there, and I agree with Uriah too. I think it's a bit reactionary. It's also, we got to remember, this is his second year, first time in this offensive system. The O line was dog shit. Like, at least in this game specifically. I mean, it wasn't great all year, but I mean, it was beyond dog shit in this game, and then the wide receiver core was pretty bad too. I mean, I've seen plenty of breakdowns showing how, the routes weren't run with any really, dynamism. They weren't properly run in some circumstances. So there's a lot going on there. I wouldn't completely attribute it to Drake, though he didn't have a good game. Let's be very clear. Also, just want to say, I think Trevion Henderson is kind of a candidate for this as well. I mean, he had some decent plays in this game, though limited, and just, a underwhelming end to his season. So there could be a buy window for him. That said, Keep Trade Cut still has him up at running back 7 around the Bo Nix area. I would be searching, again, we've talked about this recently. I just want to throw it out there again. I still would be searching to sell him to see if anybody's buying at that price still. So yeah, there's probably, you can probably go both ways with it, to be honest, but the players he's around and what we saw year 1 and running backs. I don't know if I'm really, feel any pressure to hang on to him.
All right.
If nobody has any thoughts, we can move on. Sorry.
All right, cool. So here we are. We're going to be doing another Dynasty Underdog Listener League startup. It'll be DU6. Again, this year we have slight differences than the league in year previous. So what is different about DU6? We're going to talk about it because it's fun. So we have included return yards, which is 33 yards per point, or 1 point per 33 return yards. Is that punt and kick?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. And then adding rushing and receiving first downs, quarter point per first down. I think that's kind of a carryover from DU5, is it not? I think so.
Yes, it is a carryover from DU5.
And then this will be the first year we're doing 2 points for tight end reception, that's a big boost. That'll be.
Is it 2 points? Or are we doing 175?
No, it's 2.
It is. It's 2. I forgot what we put. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me personally, that'll be the highest premium tight end premium league I've ever played in. So a lot of stuff to consider there. I think out of all this, that really matters. I'll just give my feelings on these 3 things, and then you guys can kind of chime in and see your thoughts and how you think it's going to make you draft differently, if at all. The return yards is kind of hard because I feel like it's hard to predict who the primary punt return or kick return on each team is going to be every year. Typically, and a lot of times, unless you really have that stud like Hester, who just did it for years and years, Darren Sproles, those type of guys, a lot of teams really like to use their rookies. So you may have a guy that like did pretty well his first year returning punts and kicks, but maybe his role as an actual offensive weapon has increased in year 2. And so then that role is getting taken away. So I do think about that. That might be overthinking, but that would just be my concern, especially trying to figure out if he's going to handle both punt and kick returns, and if he's getting elevated in the offense. The rushing and receiving first down, 0.25 per first down, it is what it is. It's just kind of, it doesn't affect any position much differently than other positions. It's kind of just baked into how you draft, right? The tight end boost is kind of what's really got me thinking. Like, you have a guy like Trey McBride. You have a guy like Brock Bowers, who's got a new coach there. It's really intriguing to think about, are these guys like first round startup players? Like, and if so, like, how easily are they first round startup players with the 2 point per reception? So that's intriguing. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I think for me, with the inclusion of return yards, I mean, just reasoning purposes, I feel like we get points if they score touchdowns, right, on those punt returns or kick returns. So I do think just at like a game like level, it kind of makes sense to include the actual yards that they're gaining there as well. Like they're meaningful, they can contribute to wins in terms of like NFL. So I feel like they should kind of produce points in fantasy. So just that's the reasoning there. But with what I would do with it, I think I'm not gonna go seek out like a punt returner, but like I might be more interested in Rashid Shaheed, who is also already on offense. So I would be seeking out guys who both play offense, pretty substantially, and then also, play a role in the punt or kick return game. So I think that's where it's going to go for me and where I'll prioritize things a little differently. I don't know how much. I got to kind of dig into that a little bit before the draft, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about there. In terms of the rushing, receiving first downs for receivers, you can kind of leverage the first down per route run stat, right? Like that does kind of help indicate, who is going to be seeing more of those kind of things. With the running backs, I do think there's some impact there too, up at the higher end. Like, that they're going to, if it's a short yardage situation, like there's a possibility that certain running backs are going to get many more first downs than others. And so it impacts those things. Same things with the upper end tight ends, right? Like they're going to see a lot more first downs. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking for that to impact things. And then with the tight end boost being 2.0, Uriah, you nailed it. There's going to be 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4 depending, but like 2 or 3 guys who are going to approach, somewhere in that probably mid first round at this point, and they're going to push some quarterbacks down too. So depending where you are in this draft, and it seems like I think we're going to have 3rd round reversal based on the vote that went down today.
Garbage.
you can probably do some pretty creative things. I'm thinking more at the back end of the draft, so I'm hoping that's where my especially with the 3rd round reversal, where my pick falls. You can do some fun stuff there. So with the I think, and also the reason that we increased it to 2 tight end, and there's multifaceted reason, but for me, first of all of our leagues are 1.5 or 1.75. Only one of them is 1.75, and I think we wanted to really ensure that all the positions have a significant impact and a more equal impact, right? And where it would make it so that you'd have to be really creative with your build and and kind of look at things in a little bit of a different way. So that's kind of what my perspective is. Jake, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, that really is what we did, right? We looked at 2 to 3 year war curves and tried our best to basically remove any bit of bias that you would see in a singular position. And the general idea there is you need to understand and try and get ahead of the individual years and the curves themselves, basically. So as each year progresses, understand how that specific year is kind of transitioning. And I think that's how you get ahead of the value in the league itself. But it also gives you the opportunity to kind of build however you want to from the onset. So I think you're going to see a lot of folks balance their builds a little bit differently. And then there's probably going to be some, regression to the mean, in the sense that folks will probably move away from these more extreme builds into maybe something that is more aligned with whatever is actually scoring points in 2026, and then in 2027, then in 2028. And if anything, that should, in an ideal circumstance, create a more malleable market, which is my hope. I know that is one of the major reasons why I thought this would be a good idea, specifically from the tight end boost perspective, but even more so in the return yards, because this is now giving additional position players outside of quarterback and tight end an opportunity to climb into other scoring spots that they didn't exist in before. And yeah, I'm looking at guys like Caleb Johnson, running back 2 is going to be able to really climb up ADP now, because he's going to have, 3 kick returns in a single day to get you maybe 3 points on the entire day. Like, that's really exciting. Okay. Yeah, I was being facetious. Sorry. But yeah,
watch your mouth.
Sorry, I was trying to do that as deadpan as possible, but I really got into character there. Yeah, I think like it really does just give you a lot of options of like what is a point scoring asset, what could you kind of move into specifically in like starting positions 9 and 10. I think can be even more flexible if you're able to get into, let's say, 7 or 8 elite scoring assets. That's kind of how I see really going after this market and how to play this specific league. That will kind of give you a lot more variability into someone like where my heart stays true, Chimera Dike, all-purpose yard king,
There you go.
who has who has a huge boost though in something like this. But to Uriah's point, there's a very strong chance that if his role increases in the offense, he very well likely in year 2 will also decrease his total role in special teams. So there's that potential concern with a lot of players. And I think diving in too deep into the next quote unquote like Devin Hester is just going to be incredibly challenging in the modern day NFL space. And so you really do have to just use that as almost a bonus, like you were saying, Billy. It's an additive impact to that player instead of it being the sole reason that I'm going to be basically going after that player. But by all means, I think like rounds 14 onward, those types of guys are always going to be kind of at the top of my queue if they have some type of additive value there.
Yeah, and truthfully, like there's probably going to be one of those guys a year that's going to be near league winner status, right? Like he's going to do some crazy shit at the end of the season and also be one of those guys like Chimera Dike or Shahid who like has a dual role and can really, you know, bring that for you. But I will say one thing is that like with all these different nuances, like anybody who is overvaluing them is going to provide an advantage to the rest of us. So I am going to be seeking out like through the draft, like who is overstating some of this stuff, right? Like who is kind of pushing certain players up, and am I in that window where certain players' values are going to fall, right? Like we're talking in the first round, like I'm sure there's going to be some crazy players at the end of the first round that you wouldn't really see in a typical league. Are there going to be some of those guys in the 3rd and 4th rounds, and are you going to be within that window to take advantage of that? And can you move yourself into those windows if needed, if you're seeing those things happening? So just something that I'll be kind of looking for to not only utilize it, you know, to my advantage in terms of drafting players that fall into those categories of like 2 point, 2 points for the tight ends or first down per route run or the return yards, but I'm going to be seeing who's doing too much of it. And maybe if there's an advantage in that regard. Also just worth mentioning in this league, just because it is a little different than most leagues, we do have a unique quarterback scoring setup. Nothing crazy, but you know, pick 6 thrown is -3, so a little bit extra negative there. -0.1 for incomplete pass, 0.1 for completed passes, and then -0.1 for QB sack. So this is actually a little bit of a reduction from what we were doing in DU5, where we had a little bit more negatives actually impacting the quarterbacks for those sacks and those incompletions. And I think it was kind of overdoing things a little bit the way we had it. So we wanted to just kind of rein it in a little bit, but keep it still there because we did like what it did for the most part. I just think at like the maybe really extreme ends of it, it was kind of doing a little too much maybe for at least I was looking for. And this kind of evened out the work curves when we looked at things. So that was the reason we did that. But just wanted to throw that out there because I do think that is something that people should look to do in all their leagues, because you know, not the old ones but new ones, because it is a really good setup, and I don't think QB scoring is really up to date in most leagues with what we can do. So yeah, anything else on that?
Nope.
Will you start adding additional views into rookie prospect profiling for guys who are returners now?
That's interesting. When you say like, do you mean like grading for that kind of stuff, or
it could even be a checkbox? You know, just like
it
relatively
should be something more like that. I think. Yeah, that's interesting. I
just
hadn't thought
like
about
an
that.
added value attribute, almost similar to the thing that we were talking about a few weeks back with regards to the shin, angular shin positioning. It's
you
like
can't really grade that. Yeah.
it's either
That's a
you
good
have it or
point.
you don't. But it's like I think it is a boot. Like for instance, this isn't me. I know. Casey Concepcion. I might have a crush, but Casey Concepcion is a fantastic punt returner. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So like,
No, he is.
does that add a
Absolutely.
small little boost in this league? I think it does. For instance.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I do think that both of those things are more like checkbox worthy, so we probably
Yeah.
need to look into adding that for future state, because it's true. And for the punt kick return stuff, a lot of the stuff we're grading out already applies in terms of like elusiveness and whatnot. Like that's going to be kind of some of where we're seeing it. So to your point, it's kind of already baked into the grading. It's just more like, does this guy do it versus
Mhm.
does he not? So yeah, that's a great point, Jake. I do think we should probably start doing something like that. So yeah, we'll talk offline more about that, how we implement.
All right. Moving on. One of y'all wants to take a quick look back at the hands section of KC Concepcion, because we did, at least I finished off that last episode, kind of just recapping that, listening to you guys, and then going ahead through the sheets again, being like, I think we found ourselves a guy. But the hands was a situation because there was a lot of drops.
Yes, there were a lot of drops. This is me who kind of wanted to come back to it just because of our conversation on it, where I thought I needed to take an extra look, and I did take an extra look, and it made me like him a little bit more, as I told Jake, is really what happened there. But I did kind of like really search and seek for some of those moments, and I did end up agreeing with Jake and docking him, slightly. I still have him, I think, a little ahead on the hand section because. And I said this to Jake too. I was like, dude, there's still moments where he's snatching the ball out of the air, like good technique, snatching it out of the air with, the diamond there. And it's like not clapping at it. But then you do see some targets where he has the clap attack thing where it's almost like, going side to side in on the ball. And he still secures the ball sometimes, which is funny, but it's a technique thing that it's almost inconsistent. Right. But I do think for the most part, I really liked what I saw. And I had mentioned this to Jake as well, just because him and I were going back and forth on it. I wanted to give him, an updated thoughts on it. And I was saying, some of the targets that even Jake mentioned, I think it was the LSU game, where there was an end zone target that he kind of got his hands up late a little bit. I mean, I also thought the ball was high and off target and, and just off timing. So I wouldn't really put it all on Concepcion. I would also say the quarterback was really not good, like really, really not good. So there's a couple things going on there, some timing issues, and then I think both between the quarterback and him, where it's like, oh, late hands, let me go grab this thing really fast. But there's still some of those concerns. So I do agree with Jake a little bit more than I did before, but I ended up actually increasing some of his route running grades moderately, nothing crazy, but I did see a little bit more technique than I had seen initially when I dug into. I think I ended up seeking out, I think, 2 more games after the LSU game. So it was like 4 games I ended up looking at for him. And so, yeah, I really like this kid. I want to see him develop in the league, and I want to see him to go to a spot that we can see that potential development occurring in a role for him. So we'll see, but he is going to be, I think, one of the more interesting players and one of the guys that we're a little bit more into maybe than the market at the end of the day.
Cool. With that, let's hop into some new prospect profiles, starting off with Denzel Boston, University of Washington. I have the wrong guy loaded here. Something about Chris Brazel or Brazel I kind of liked. So you guys should do him next week.
He'll be on the next round, most likely.
All right, Denzel Boston. Yards after the catch per reception, 4.9, 14.4 ADOT. Slot usage is 17.6. Yards per team pass attempt, 2.4. Yards per route run, 244. Contested catch rate or percentage, 76.9. First down per route run, 13.5, 13.6. His man's yard per route run is 266, and zone is 215. You kind of like most of it. His like zone yard per route run is not. I feel like the NFL defenses run a lot of zone, right? So when I'm comparing like man and zone yards per route run, I really want a higher zone yards per out run versus a higher man yards per out run. Like, to me, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't care as much about the man stuff. All around, there's not a ton of red flags except for like maybe yards after the catch. He's got a 14.48 out, so I mean he's getting down there. So
yeah,
not a lot of red flags. What do you guys got?
no, definitely not a ton of red flags from a data perspective, but that yards after the catch thing definitely shows up on tape, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's obviously used a little bit more down the field. I agree with you to an extent with like the man stuff. I do still like want to see him over to, 2 yards per out run from a man perspective. But yeah. I agree that like you want to see that zone be really high because that does require a little bit more IQ, game intelligence to kind of pull that kind of stuff off, especially like you were mentioning, in the NFL, the current state of the NFL. But just getting into the overall profile here, I'll just give my overall breakdown and hop into some of the specific categories. But big body possession receiver, ball skills are his best trait, displays good mid-route technique as well as manipulation movement. He uses those in combination. I do think he lacks raw speed to really separate and slow down by physical press at the line of scrimmage. However, he does show ability to be pressed with footwork and release. Good balance post-catch to fight through contact, but lacks true lateral quickness to consistently evade and produce after the catch. That's pretty good summarization of really, what I think of this guy. Really nothing special from a route technique perspective, but he does show a little bit of that nuance. But again, it's not super sharp. He does bend some routes. Like physical press kind of does disrupt his ability to separate, as it limits his ability to use his speed. Or when he has time to build that up, really, because he does kind of need to build the speed up a little bit. But, I think he's mostly deficient from an athleticism perspective. I gave him really low grades from an elusiveness perspective. I don't think he really offers much burst. The best thing he has is balance. Like I mentioned, he really labors in terms of like decelerating to like throttle down on comebacks, for example. And that's just like before the catch, but he also doesn't really possess curvilinear movement, that like bend below the waist, which prevents him from being truly elusive, despite making the first defender miss at times. So I wasn't super impressed by what I saw. I didn't think he had great field vision after the catch. I also gave him pretty low grades in terms of zone awareness, because I do think he recognizes zones, but he doesn't quite settle into them, which is like, if we're, we just saw the Super Bowl, there's guys like Mac Hollins who would like, there'd be a zone, but they don't settle into it. They just run through it. And you see that kind of thing from him instead of, really sitting down. So it's like, does he, there is some recognition, but it's not really being applied, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, outside of that, I think that mostly covers it. I gave him a 57 out of 100. That's, almost 10 marks lower than most of the guys we graded last week. So just to put that in perspective, Jake, what are you thinking there?
Yeah. Underwhelmed by the entirety of the package. Honestly, it didn't take much for it to become noticeable. Denzel wins high and strong, but if we're looking for uncontested catches in his tape, look away. They don't exist. And there is something of a second gear from Denzel. Usually it's with the same in-breaking step that he makes, where you can see a slight burst into speed that is necessary for him to basically make that second gear play. And he seems to do it over and over again. I watched Washington State, and I don't have the second game listed, but I watched 2 games. Usually I try and watch at least 3, but honestly, I felt like I knew exactly what I got from Denzel from the onset. So I'll just talk through his route technique, because that's honestly where I dinged him hardest with athleticism. There's glimpses of what Boston looks like at his best versus Washington State, but it's still capped with the slime that is his athletic upside. This ends up translating in the nuance and timing of his route technique. Even on his touchdown route that he had over the top, he has a decent stutter to draw the corner in, but only really has a singular gear, more off of a deceleration. Clunky footwork slows down his pacing. It also slows down his ability to release. Makes his release concepts elementary and honestly relatively boring, above average pacing in mid route, but he doesn't have much nuance at the start or at the stem of his routes. So I really just kind of got there and was stuck with what Denzel was putting out, because you can see that there's probably like a role type player there, someone who's going to have some impactful weeks in a team, but I just don't get enough from him that is ever going to be like, I want to roster this dude and start him on my fantasy football team.
Yeah, and I just sorry, I just want to jump back in real quick here. My bad. And in turn, because Jake mentioned like if you're looking for uncontested catches, you're not going to see them, and that is like that's like his highest grade individually for me, is the contested catch piece of it, because he does high point those targets. Hands catcher, excellent in contested catch situations, pretty big catch radius, and shows good body control to get to the target. So I do think he does that really well, but it's all the pieces kind of getting there, you know what I mean, from the beginning of the route, middle of the route, and once you're at the catch point, it's like, okay, he can do some stuff, but I think that becomes infinitely harder at the next level too, right? Like you're going to be playing guys who are even better at defending those kind of targets, and so he's going to need to step this up or improve in some of these aspects, which athleticism is kind of hard to improve on substantially because it's kind of innate in some ways, right? That said, maybe I dinged him a little too much. Like Jake gave him almost a 50% higher score on the burst score than I did. So maybe he has a little bit more than I'm giving him credit for. I just think it's going to be tough for that to translate truly. So yeah, real quick. Sorry, before anybody have anything else on Denzel Boston?
No, I was going to say, was he like a less athletic Mike Williams or something?
Oh,
that's an interesting comp. Yeah, but I really think he's kind of a jump ball like that. I do think he's kind of that jump ball contested catch guy who you can use in the red zone or use in specific situations. I just don't think he's going to be creating a ton of separation at the next level. But that's a good one. That's a pretty good one. You're at. Real quick, I just wanted to
out on this guy probably.
yeah. That's probably going to be where we're at. Sorry, I just wanted to hit the YouTube comments. I've been kind of leaving those behind, but real quick here, Kevin Hawthorne, good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Shout out. Real quick here, Jay from the Discord, tighten your ends, boys. That's from our tight end conversation with the 2 points per tight end. Shout out, love that. Also, he threw out the Turpin League winner right there. Those might be the guys.
I wasn't going to mention him because I don't want anybody to hear me. But like that's a dude who has the role as he's a punt returner, kick returner. His role on offense is not going to increase. Ever.
Right. Yeah. But it's like, do you want that guy? That's the one I'm like, I might avoid that kind of player. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. So I might let somebody else spend their like 15th round pick on him or whatever, wherever we start picking those guys up at. So, but yeah, shout out there. And then one more here from Tommy Blair, enjoying the rookie content. Thanks guys. Appreciate you, Tommy. Anytime you're joining, we very much appreciate that. Cool stuff. All right. Keep it moving, your eye.
Next one. Another guy I probably, just out on, but
you haven't even gotten to him yet.
We'll see if you guys say something that
ringing endorsement to start off. You haven't even said his name. In fairness, you haven't even said his name, so don't let anyone know.
We should say these guys' names more often, just for the podcast listeners and stuff. But Malachai Fields, where's he out of? I didn't mention that part.
Notre Dame.
I'll remember that for about 2 months. All right, Malachai Fields, 5.3 yards, yards after the catch per reception, a nice 8 out of 16.4. Slot usage is 9.7%. Yards per team pass attempt, 2.0. Yards per route run, 2.2. Contested catch percentage, 47.8. First down per route run, 9.44. His Ben yard per route run is 2.05. Zone 1.98. And as was pointed out in the notes, he played 5 years, no breakout age. Like, this is not a guy that typically ever amounts to anything. So what did you guys see in the film?
You can thank, I think, Senior Bowl, right? Was it Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl? One of them. I think that's why he was
Senior Bowl
so much. Okay.
It was a Senior Bowl. Yeah, he was dominating one-on-one in the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
And like
that's cool.
And the thing is, what's funny is like the way in which he was dominating was really, in my opinion, what I was seeing was like at the catch point, right? Like he was making some pretty impressive catches over some of these, these other players that he was up against. And that is, again, which is actually interesting. I think a lot of the guys in this class, their best trait is ball skills, which funny enough. But I mean, I guess it should be, because you're a receiver and you should be able to catch the ball. So that is, in my opinion, his best trait. He does display, an ability to convert contested targets, high points targets, good ball tracking, naturally large catch radius. Doesn't quite get his body around and in best position for the target necessarily. I'd like to see some improvement there, but ball tracking, hands, contested catch, those kind of things, I think he scored pretty well in. But overall, I think he's a contested catch jump ball specialist. Like, that's what he is. He lacks refinement as a route runner, provides very little after the catch despite good balance, excels at the catch point and getting 2 feet down. Not sure the game will translate unless he is faster than the tape shows. I thought he was one of the slowest receivers I've seen on tape in a while. Like, lacks general speed and burst. Good balance post catch due to his size, but not much lateral agility to offer yak ability, in my opinion. He does have exceptional sideline awareness. I'll give him that. But outside of that, I don't think he really offers much from a zone awareness perspective or really field vision, going back to kind of the yak ability thing there. And then just touching on some of the route technique, I think he's sluggish from his release, kind of a lackadaisical route runner, doesn't offer much technique or nuance through the stem of the route, doesn't separate much through athleticism or technique. Single move release is like the go-to, and it's not really refined. So he doesn't really have a diverse release package necessarily. There are reps beating press fighting through contact, but no technical reps from a release perspective, or with speed really. But he does exhibit some suddenness at the top of the route. That might be the best thing that he shows from a route perspective, or a route technique perspective. But that's, I mean, honestly, it was really rough to watch this tape, in my opinion. He got a 42.5 out of 100. That's one of the lower grades I've probably given a guy in a long time. Jake, what do you think?
Oh man, I wrote some really damning things about this poor dude that I don't know.
Worse than what I just said.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Easy.
Man. All right, I'll be really quick. I'll copy on the shorter pieces. If yak ability was whether or not the defense has all died from an airborne virus in the middle of the fields would still almost get a 1 out of 5. I gave him a 0.5 in yak ability. I thought that he was borderline useless after he caught the ball, and he was borderline useless before he caught the ball. So it was really all about, in my opinion, whether or not he caught the ball in possession. Like,
How rude.
I feel mean saying that, but like, honestly,
Late stage Jason Witten.
Literally. And the poor dude's like 23.5. Like, it shouldn't be moving like that. And he's just moving slow. I don't know what was happening in Virginia in his first 4 years, but man, that shit was dragging him down. I'll just read the last piece I had to. I would like for the field type to behave. It has been a rabid dog that needs to be put down, all because there were some plays in 1v1s on Twitter from the Senior Bowl. Like, I really do think that like this type of stuff needs to be sniffed out and shut up and chewed out as fast as possible, because guys like this don't deserve. I feel bad saying this, but like, they don't deserve the time and energy that a lot of people are going to be putting out for this, because I don't think that he's going to have high draft capital. I don't think anything realistically is going to happen to him. He'll probably be a undrafted free agent, and maybe he'll have like a small temporary role in the NFL. But like, I don't know. Sometimes the internet just like allows for these things to become bigger than they should be. He truly was my lowest athleticism score, my lowest route technique score. And the only thing that is pulling up his scoring is his ball skills, which in fairness on contested catches, I gave him a 4 and I gave him a 3.5 on hands. I have him down as also a 42.5, which is somehow exactly the same score as Billy, which is at the odds of that are very, very, very small. But yeah, I don't want to hear this guy's name, hopefully, again during this draft process.
And I want to be clear, like, Jake and I don't look at each other's grades as we're doing them. I only look when I'm done with mine to see if he finished his and see where they're at. And I do my best to not adjust. I do my best to not adjust to whatever I see from Jake. I just look at it and I'm like, okay, I guess that's where we're at. And then we'll talk about it. And then if I need to adjust based on our conversations, like here, really, then we'll go look, go do a double take on it. But Just wanted to throw it out there. And I do feel bad kind of saying this all about Malachai Fields because I'm sure he's a good kid. I do think he's kind of like a bargain brand Keon Coleman in a way. Like that's kind of his game. It just, worse route running and all at the catch point. So, and, not that Keon Coleman's great at that, but I do think he was a little bit more proficient than this guy. That said, with the Senior Bowl stuff, I do think we need to sniff it out because there are like Amon-Ra St. Brown, like dominated. I think it was Amon-Ra, if I remember correctly. But there's certain guys who Cooper Kupp also. I think
ankles.
I think Puka may have done it too. There's definitely been some guys who like showed up and you're like, oh, that is like legit movement. But it's again, when you go and watch the tape, it's usually there too. It wasn't there for Malachai Fields on the tape. Jay in the comments here, it's like Malachi Corley and Justin Fields had a baby. I love that. That's a hilarious comment. And also from a talent perspective, that kind of fits. Yeah. That's
Jesus. Yeah. Why am I saying Jesus? Like I didn't just like completely besmirch
annihilate this guy.
This guy's poor name. I'm like, don't ever put his name on the internet again. Remove all of his videos from YouTube immediately.
And yeah, Jake, you said undrafted free agent. I mean, like with the hype he got at the Senior Bowl, because the NFL execs they put stock into that. I don't know if he's going to be a UDFA. I think he'll probably get drafted somewhere on day 3. But yeah, and he could even sneak into day 2. Like I could really see that happening just based on the hype and his ability at the catch point. So
you.
I mean, there's some catches where it's like sideline touchdown catch. You're like, oh, that's and some of these guys are going to get enamored by that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him go higher than expected. And then we'll just be able to take advantage of that from a different perspective. But yeah,
you're right. Alan Lazard had like a 9-year career. So anyone can be in the NFL for a long period of time.
There you go.
Because he's best friends with like one of the best quarterbacks to ever live. So
Who?
That's it. Yeah.
He was like best friends with one of the best quarterbacks to ever live. So
yeah. I mean, he's very good. He's very good. He didn't win as much as he should have. That's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, that happens. Right. Neither did Romo, but yeah. Let's move on. But yeah, you guys are the first film guys that I've actually paid attention to their takes about Malachi Fields. The analytics guys have been roasting them for a while. So.
Oh really? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, his analytics do not look good. I mean, I just took a peek at them. They're not good.
All right, cool. Let's move on to somebody a little more interesting. Early Declare played at University of Georgia.
Yes, and USC.
Shout out the Trojans. All right, cool. Congratulations, Sam Darnold, former Trojan. Zachariah Branch, 7.8 yards after the catch per reception, an abysmal ADOT of 3.6, but he's working the slot at a 72% clip. Yard per team pass attempt is almost there at 1.9. Career yard per route run at 2.57. Contested catch rate of 62.5. First down per route run, 12.66%. Man yard per route run, 4.23. And he breaks the plane with zone yard per route run at 2.28. He could be a player. How do you guys like his film?
Yeah. Oh man, that 4.23 man yard per route run is insane, dude.
Like, it is insane.
He's a jitterbug. Like the way he moves, it doesn't surprise me that he's
like 5'10", 180, 175.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This is a former number 1 recruit. Like he was the number 1 overall wide receiver in the nation. So this is a guy who definitely has pedigree. I followed him for a while. I think he's one of those guys too who is like he's small but he's strong. Like he really is. Like you can see that strength in his game. But I will say there's really not a lot of all 22 tape out there, so it is going to be hard to give a full evaluation on him. In my opinion, we're probably going to have to come back to this guy once we get a little bit more substantial film on him, so we can really grade out some of the route technique. Because I think that's the place where, for me, there's some like sideline awareness we couldn't really see, so I barely even graded him on that. Same with blocking. Like there's no blocking tape out there of him, so he gets like nothing. So he could be a little bit higher than I even have him here. And probably a beating press release manipulation, movement, pacing, I would all take with a grain of salt. So he could be higher or lower depending on what I would see from from all 22 film. But from the limited tape, I do think that he appears to display some abrupt stem nuance and manipulation movement. That was really the most you can get out of it, and you can definitely see that he has decent separation. So he got just above average scores from me in all those categories. Nothing crazy. And again, these are like each of those is like out of 5. So when I say above average, like a 3, for the most part there. From a ball skills perspective, I do think that one second, sorry. Just make sure my headphone is still active. Okay. Jake, can you talk real quick so I can make sure I hear myself?
Can you hear me?
Okay, good. It was just one headphone that did it. All right. My bad. Okay. Wanted to make sure I was still here. All right. So yeah, from a ball tracking perspective, or ball skills perspective rather, he did pretty well. He has obviously a smaller catch radius, but I do think he had excellent ball tracking. He extends for the ball. He's a hands catcher. It's not always letting it come into his body. Pretty good contested catch ability, especially given his size. He does exhibit some good body control and ability to get the frame on the ball and contort when needed. So he got, above average grades for me for the most part there. A little bit lower in the catch radius department. From an athleticism perspective, I mean, it's almost off the charts. I mean, he has unbelievable curvilinear movement and balance. Like the bend at the ankles and at the knees is just out of this world. I mean, he displays an ability to evade defenders at a really high rate with dead legs, jump cuts, exhibits more burst than speed, in my opinion, though he's still very fast. And he offers a pretty good low center of gravity. So I think he has good balance as well. So he got well above average marks in the athleticism department across the board. Like I said, from an awareness, like a sideline awareness perspective, I gave him a 0.5, just not give him a complete 0 on it, because I'm sure there's some, but I can't see it. I did think that he showed some really good zone awareness, like sits into those zones, weaves through traffic, sees the field extremely well post catch as well. So he got good field vision grade. That's really all I can kind of speak to. From his tape. I think he's a hyper athletic slot type receiver who displays above average route technique and quality ball skills. Not enough tape for the full breakdown. Outstanding evasiveness after the catch ability. Exhibits great balance and field vision to create yards post contact. I have him at a 63.5. Again, that may be slightly high once I see the route technique, but also he could get bumped up a couple points too, depending on what I see from a couple more categories. So I'm interested in this guy, and I think he could be kind of a high volume. Obviously you see the low A dot stuff because he is that kind of player. He's a smaller player. They're just trying to get him the ball, get him in space, and allow him to create. And you actually see from his from the data, like, yeah, he's catching it at 3.6, but he's 7.8 after the catch. So he's actually doing something with it. You know what I mean? So I do think he could be that kind of guy you can move around the formation. But there's probably some development needed there. We just need to see a little bit more tape to really snuff it out. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I agree with almost all of that. I put the same kind of caution around us not having the right amount of tape. I honestly got 0 all 22, so all I was watching were highlights. So it was.
What do you mean?
Really,
you got
really
that YouTube all 22?
I
That
didn't
was
watch that
basically
shit.
no all 22. It was literally like all
Yeah.
the cuts that wouldn't be the actual all 22 view. It was insane.
No, they're all the fucking quarterback all 22 shots from behind, and then they had it slight zoom in because I guess of like some copyright shit that they had, and then on top of that, to make it even worse, you could only see the center of the field. So he would catch the ball and then run into frame, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for including this. I'm so glad. Thankfully, it was like 1minute and 46 seconds, or else I would have probably lost the plot. So I did not use that. I'm just going to be very clear to anyone who's listening right now. I did not use that to incorporate into my scoring. I'll read a little bit into his route technique blurb that I have, because I do think that's where I have some slight differences, and not good or bad, just slight differences. I did put short screen king. UGA thought they had the next Tyreek Hill on their hands and manipulated Branch's usage to look like that of when he was at the Chiefs with less cumulative kids. Branch has this hitch when he releases and breaks in his release that allows for him to basically jerk his body before the initial propulsion past the defender, which I thought was really interesting. And it kind of reminds me of Jordan Tyson, who has like a very, not similar, but he has this like same repetitive break that he uses on almost every single release. And I'm just like, we might get to a point where that is just too readable for a defender at the NFL level, that won't be as beneficial. So I had his release concepts relatively low at a 3. I also had him not actually beating the press particularly well. I had him right there in the middle at 2.5, but his stem nuance and separation I had relatively high at 3.5, just above average. Footwork at 3.5 as well. And he actually came in from a route technique perspective a little bit higher than the majority of the class so far. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The other thing that I thought really stood out to me that I think I dinged him on a little bit more than Billy was that because of us only being able to see his highlights, I really only got mainly screens and what he was able to do after the catch, right? So majority of hand stuff wasn't really tested particularly well. His ball tracking, I only had him down as a 3. Contested catch, I had him down as a 3 as well. Hands still relatively up at 3.5 just because all of the things that we're seeing are positive, but that's also because they're fucking highlights, right? So like,
for sure.
There's going to be a lot missing here that I think he can and probably will get dinged at later on to what Billy was talking through. The last thing that I'll add is really on the athleticism. I really do agree with Billy. He honestly graded out as the most athletic wide receiver so far that we've seen for me. I wrote basically shines on the screen. He pops, he corns. Branch is an elite athlete that can take on any defender for a foot race and win. His ability to juke through the first move, accelerate, decelerate, and then accelerate again is at another level, and it's noticeable. That being said, this is still a capped aspect of his game because it is only used in very specific portions of the field. Like, you don't really see what he can do from a pure athleticism perspective in the middle of the field all that much. You can't really see what he can do over the top all that much. I just don't really gain enough from the film to be able to say this is a guy that we should really be looking after or not, because I do think that he kind of reminds me of players of the past that have these unique roles in a very productive and efficient offense that might be a little bit overstated than what they actually are. The only thing I'll state for Branch is that I really do think that from like an elusiveness, burst speed, and yak ability perspective, like, he really is unique in this class. And I do think that that is helpful. But then again, I had Jalen Royals in a similar boat last year. And it's like, I'm not saying that they're the same. I'm just saying that they had similar upside in like a very specific piece of their game, and having that yak ability without really understanding what the route technique looks like makes him almost impossible to say that this early grade is even a relatively positive thing, because realistically I can see myself probably docking him like another 7 to 8 points by the end of this if I actually get all 22 on my hands.
Cool. And the last one, Mr. Chris Bell from Louisville, 4-year senior. 5.2 yards, yards after the catch per reception, and 9.4 ADOT. Slot usage, 14.7%. Yards per team pass attempt, 2.2. Career yard per route run is 2.55. 50% contested catch percentage. First down per route run, 12.5%. Man yard per route run, 3.25. Zone yard per route run, 2.25. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah. I wanted to like this guy so much more. I'll be honest with you. Like, yeah. He has some really impressive juice, like some speed and burst, but it's like he doesn't do anything with it, and it bothers the shit out of me. Like, I really want to like this kid because I do think his athleticism is pretty good. Not quite to the like Branch level, but still pretty good. Like, I do think he's not. What's crazy is I think he has excellent burst, excellent speed, but then he's not elusive. Like, he doesn't really have that lateral ability, and it's really, he's kind of stiff below the waist, and so he can't really juke guys out at a high rate. And so that's really kind of where it falls apart from that perspective for me. I do think he has okay route technique, but I'll just kind of read what I have here. He shot out of a cannon from release. He displays good deceleration through the stem, good pacing using his speed as an advantage. Displays some route nuance, but unrefined technique, creates fear with speed versus press. So he can beat some press, but I do think some physical coverage can't get to him. He has quick feet. I'd like to see more separation given the speed. Physical coverage can disrupt. Doesn't display much manipulation through the stem of the route. Doesn't get a ton of separation outside of crossing routes. Not seeing it really driven through technique in terms of that separation. So he got some above average grades in terms of stem nuance and beating press. Some beating press and his release concepts, but then I think he wasn't really that impressive from a separation perspective or a stem nuance perspective, and, those details through the route. His ball skills, I thought he has reliable hands, but doesn't seem to extend his arms fully at times. Like, I think he short arms the balls a lot. Like, he doesn't fully get his hands over to there. So I saw a couple pass breakups on contested catches that kind of resulted from that. However, he does exhibit ability to get his frame on the ball. So you do see good back shoulder, conversions and whatnot. So it's a little inconsistent for me. So there's some good stuff there, some bad stuff there, in my opinion. He does have good zone awareness. You can see him recognizing zones and quickly reacting and sitting into there. I don't really think he offers, like I mentioned, enough from a yak ability, but like he does have decent balance. He is a big, fast guy. He has like an Anquan Bolden build, but doesn't have the Anquan Bolden stuff. You know what I mean? Like that. I really would like to see more from this guy. It bothers me a little bit. I see him more as like a power slot possession type receiver with good burst and speed as a foundation, but he really lacks that great technique and fundamentals. He lacks the great route technique, but I do think there are fundamentals there to develop potentially. So yeah, he got a 56.5, kind of in the middle range of things for me. Again, I want to like him more. Jake, did you like him more than me?
I did, but not a whole lot. I think I graded him out as a 60, so 3.5 points over. I think I had him slightly above you in ball skills. I think I was a little bit more giving in contested catches than you were, but I did see what you're referring to. I talked a little bit about it, but I would say I'll just read the overview because I do think that you covered almost all of the dings that I had on him. I just don't think I was as harsh in the grading, and not that that's good or bad. Overall, there were a ton of encouraging signs from Chris Bell, but I genuinely have no clue if he's going to be ravaged by his new ACL tear that he just received. I'm going to be hitting him with a heavy caution sign as things continue to progress and the NFL is willing to see how his recovery is going now as his impact on his DC. Bell's ability to run directly into zone pockets and commands the ball was super noticeable on tape. When the field opens up, so does his speed, but he lacks refinement and the ability to create with excitement once the ball is in his hands. And I think like that's the biggest thing is like there are just so many moments where you could see that he should be able to break something for a much bigger gain. And for whatever reason, that's where his speed and burst just like die off. But like all in the actual route technique, that's where his speed exists. And it's like, I don't know, the turbo, like the turbo button, like it's like NFL Blitz or some shit. He was like completely lost all the juice by the time that the fucking ball is in his hands. And it's really off-putting because the guy before the ball is there, I did find to be relatively electric and honestly game-changing in moments, especially when he was opening the game up a lot against who they had a really, really difficult time moving the ball against. And honestly, I thought Chris Bell basically single-handedly just blew by the corner more often than not. Wasn't getting targeted on the majority of them. So all that to be said, I think that he's going to probably lose that step in year one. And so you're really looking for a dude who you're thinking about upside already into year two is just super scary to me. Like that's just not something I really want to be drafting in a rookie draft. And realistically, I think his draft capital is going to probably get hit pretty hard too, just given the timing of his ACL tear. I think it was like late November, early December of this year. So I think that's something to be really, really questionable about, especially given that he is such an athletic an athletic, like stiff runner that I think he's just going to be an even stiffer runner moving forward.
Yeah, that injury is huge. That's really good context, honestly, given kind of how he wins. But just kind of filling in some of those pieces that Jake was talking about with like the after the catch stuff, when he's decisive and he has an open space, like he actually can use that burst to really separate from defenders. But it's really when he comes into contact or needs to evade somebody where things break down, which is really interesting because I think he's 6'2", like 210 or something like that. So he's a pretty stocky dude, but he has some balance, but he still gets taken down way too easily by one defender. And you're just like, how is this possible? Like you should be able to kind of push through that contact. And so that was just a big piece for me. And then just speaking to, just some candidness in terms of like the process here, like I got through him, through grading him. And I'm like, again, thinking to myself, I want to like this guy more. And I went and I looked at Jake's grade and I saw that you had, some better ball tracking grades than I did. And I was just like, I can't get there. I was like, just to be, just to be open with like the listeners on how we do this. And I was just, I went back, I watched, and I'm like, no, like I have to give him, for me personally, just a lower grade from a contested catch perspective because I don't think he's getting his hands out there. So just from a process perspective, so people understand kind of how we're doing this, that for me was like, I was like, okay, let me go check myself against him. And then let me go, I'm not going to change my grade necessarily just because Jake has it a certain way. This is how I kind of see it. And again, these things might be very minor in terms of how much it affects the grade, but overall, if you're doing it properly like that, I think it kind of, the process works itself out the right way. So just wanted to kind of go through that just a little bit. Cause I remember going through that piece and seeing exactly how it was. And I was like, this is how I personally need to grade it to get it where I want it to be versus what Jake was saying, which again, still was pretty close. And a lot of what we said, like the fact that he uses his burst through the route and everything like that, I agree with you 1,000% on. That's exactly how I saw it and how it is. So good stuff there on these guys. It was a kind of underwhelming bunch given some of the buzz I feel like we're hearing out of the NFL and dynasty community for these guys over the last few weeks, months, especially with like Boston in Fields for the most part. The other guys are a little bit more under the radar, I think. But yeah, good stuff, guys.
Cool. I'm glad we were able to nuke Malachai Fields. That was fun.
Jake really knew he dropped the ball.
Needed to be done. All right. So just to recap, we did Denzel Boston, UW, Malachai Fields, Notre Dame, and UVA, Zachariah Branch, Georgia, USC, and Chris Bell from Louisville, in that order. We'll hop into some trades and non-trades.
Good stuff.
Yeah, those are good. Good job, guys. DU2, we had a trade. Bo Nix, Etienne, and Mason Taylor for the 111, 27 late first, Terrence Ferguson and Jonathan Brooks.
I jokingly said that was a free Bo Nix to somebody. I don't know, man. This again is like that kind of outcome bias. I'm using that so much because it's happening so much. I feel like a jackass, but still, we're seeing so many things from these playoffs turn their heads in terms of like these dynasty trades where people are reacting, I think, a little bit too harshly to either injuries or final performances, whatever it may be. So, a couple late firsts, Terrence Ferguson and a running back who may never get back to, his true self, for Bo Nix in and of himself is like, okay, but then you're adding like Mason Taylor and Travis Etienne. That's Travis, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like Travis Etienne's very likely going to be a decent starter next year. Mason Taylor, I think, obviously situation isn't great, but we did see some encouraging things year one in a very underwhelming situation. So I'm pretty encouraged by Mason Taylor. That said, this whole thing is more about Nick's value to me and the lack of return for that quarterback in a super flex league. So a little underwhelmed with that pick side. Any thoughts, Uriah?
It's just the quarterback for me. Not much to add there.
Yeah. This was your trade, right, Jake?
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't have much to say about this because you got the Knicks side. So I'm sure you agree for the most part. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I will say that openly, I didn't really want to trade Terrence Ferguson. He somehow became one of the harder pieces in this trade to get rid of. I just think that, like, in general, I've talked a little bit about wanting to get into Terrence Ferguson during the playoffs and then after the playoffs, specifically pre-playoffs when Devontae was out. I think there's a very clear role for Terrence Ferguson in this offense, in the red zone in particular. And that is very exciting to me. Yeah. So I'm not even the biggest Terrence Ferguson fan, but I did draft a whole heck of a lot of them in the early third or mid third. And unfortunately, I got rid of him here. But I had Mason Taylor ahead of him. So it made it really palatable to me that I was like getting into that situation. The only thing I'll add on Mason Taylor's side is the Jets hired. Oh, fuck. I had this ready. I swear to God, who the fuck did they hire as their offensive coordinator? Frank Reich, who is particularly well endowed with his tight ends. So is that a terminology people use?
Sure. Well, I think that'll come across just fine.
Yeah, well endowed. So I personally think that, the sky's the limit right now with Mason Taylor and what he can do in that offense, given that, what was there, like a total of like 1,000 receiving yards in that entire offense last year, something along those lines. It was pretty ridiculous. So yeah, give it to me.
I mean, dude, if you just say it's Mason Taylor and Terrence Ferguson one to one, right? You throw that out of the trade, then you're looking at 2 late first Jonathan Brooks for Bo Nix and Travis Etienne. I mean, like it's just I can't even really get the logic to get there. So I hope it works out for both of y'all. I hope it ends up being an even trade in some form or fashion, but I just don't think it's going to be, unfortunately, for the other side.
Fair.
All right. Moving on. We have DU5. The yard per route run king. Trey Harris. 4-2. We haven't had a guy like that come up in our profiles yet, so I don't think we will, actually. I've looked. I don't think we will. Trey Harris for Bashul Tutin. I mean, why not? Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think for me in this situation, I'm probably going to lean the Tutin side just because it's a running back who I think has more of a chance to have a role or significant role. Not that Trey Harris can't have a role, don't get me wrong, but I just think there's like a lot going on there in terms of like Ladd McConkey. I think Keenan Allen wants to come back. You still have QJ there. He's not really going anywhere anytime soon. So it's like, what are we talking about? Trey Harris has to become either he has to beat out one of those 3 guys, which, I mean, it's not impossible, but we've seen QJ actually develop a little bit over time. So I don't think he's really going to be pushing QJ out of the way. Maybe you can say he's going to push Keenan out of the way, but they don't really play the same role necessarily. So it's like, how is he even getting on the field? I don't know. Like, again, he could be the 3rd guy on that team, but I just don't think that he's going to be a super valuable guy anyway. And I'd rather take my shot on Tutin.
Yeah, that's a fair take.
Full preseason, Keandre Lambert-Smith.
Oh, there you go. That too. Well, that's too. Is he beating out Keandre? No, but that's a fair enough point. It's like, is he even beating out those kind of guys? Truthfully.
Yeah, he will. I think his role grew as the year went on. Maybe that was because Keenan's legs started to slow down and walk through cement, aka just age. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Tutin side on this one as well. It's really funny to think about what their like rookie ADP was like last year, and they were borderline like next to each other in rookie drafts. And if their value right now is basically the same, you don't really see that all that much. So I just found that really interesting. But yeah, I'll take the running back in the situation, especially not knowing where Travis Etienne's going to be. He's going to be a free agent, so he could very well be on a new team. And Tutin could be next guy up with LaQuint Allen. LaQuint.
Okay. I mean, his role did increase a bit in terms of targets, but the conversion wasn't really there. To be fair, I guess. Like he was really a big play merchant. Like he was, 18 yards per route or per catch kind of thing. And it was like 2 of 6 targets or 3 of 6, so it's going to be, I think, low conversion rate, but maybe high reward if you're into that kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Same league, DU5. We had the 105 plus the 109 and the 112. Plus Malik Willis for Caleb Williams. Saw this one today. Good job. That's an interesting one. 3 firsts for Caleb Williams. Sounds about right. Malik Willis. I mean, you got to admit, Malik Willis has done pretty well. Most opportunities he's been given. I believe he's a free agent. So there's a chance that Malik Willis ends up on a quarterback needy team and continues that. It's possible. Definitely worth investing in. I like to gamble, but I like the security of Caleb Williams. It's a good trade. That's all I can say. Yeah. It's a good trade. Obviously, there's a lot of hopium on the left-hand side here with the picks. 105, 109, 112, and Malik Willis. Malik Willis hits it all. They'll be happy they made this trade. So
yeah. I mean, I think you're right. You break down pretty good there. To be honest with you, I think Malik Willis honestly is most likely going to be a starter at least at the beginning of this next year. Most likely, I do think he's going to be brought to one of these really quarterback needy teams. I think we were talking about it before the podcast, just with some other nonsense, but I think it's very, very possible he travels to Miami, right, with the Green Bay coach who got hired over there. So there's a very, very strong possibility he at least brings them there to, have competition. So I think the value is going to increase slightly, if not a little bit more than that over time. That said, I think like the way I kind of would say this is it's like a lot of value to give up kind of, but it's really 2 late firsts and a mid first in a class that we're pretty underwhelmed by. So
yeah,
I think with that context, it does make me lean the Caleb side kind of easily. I do think it's a pretty good trade because you are getting 3 firsts for one player, 3 first plus technically for one player. I just believe more in Caleb Williams than, the box, as it were, with those picks, right? So
box.
Good take.
You know what I mean? So, I lean the Caleb side on this one.
Yeah, this is putting my money where my mouth is. I feel like I've been pretty adamant that I don't really want to be drafting all that heavily in this class in general. And I know that this class is very, very wide receiver heavy. We have looked into already a plethora of some of the most hyped wide receivers so far this class. I have to say I'm pretty underwhelmed, which means that I'm most likely going to have to be drafting one of them or potentially 2 of them in the late first or a middling quarterback potentially. This just puts me in a better situation to know that I have at least like a semi/tearing up piece, get closer to an elite asset than what I could have done, I think, with those 3 firsts. And unfortunately, DU5 is like, in my opinion, one of the hardest micro markets for me to take advantage of from like a value perspective regularly, just because other folks are usually higher on assets that I'm trying to get into that are either like down or moving in a separate direction than I thought that they would. So this kind of allows me to sit with what I think is a little bit more liquidity in an asset, in a singular asset, than I could have done with those individual pieces. That being said, I don't know if you really can get into a quarterback in any of those 3 picks. So adding Malik Willis does feel like a really safe option here. As a safe option, as safe of an option as Malik Willis is, to give yourself that added gamble of potentially moving that into maybe a late first or something like that if he does become the starter. So I liked it. I definitely pushed back against Malik Willis because me. But at the end of the day, I was like, this is still fine. It goes in the direction that I wanted to. The other thing I'll shout out is that on this build, I've been very adamant about trying to acquire as many quarterbacks as possible. And so like I even broke down Drake May last season. So now I'm up to, I think, 5 starting quarterbacks with Lamar Jackson, Jackson Dart, Baker Mayfield, now Caleb Williams, and Trevor Lawrence. So it's an intentional move on my part to do what I'm trying to do. And at the same time, I'm hopefully devaluing the person who I took Caleb Williams away from, as I have their 27 first. So yeah, good luck. Hopefully trying to replace his points and compete next year. I guess that's my hope, which he will, because I just said that on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's how hard it gets.
One more.
Yeah.
Same
That's
league. Should take us about all of 35 seconds. We had Calvin Ridley go for the 301. Sure, why not?
Give me Ridley.
Yeah, I'm with Jake on this. Like, I understand like the thought process here, and coming off the injury, but I just think you're gonna get more out of him from a production perspective, and then you could like probably package him for like a higher pick than this long term. So
there's also a good chance that both whatever the 301 is and Calvin Ridley score you like
mean nothing. Yeah,
60 points all year total.
Yeah,
so
right.
Sure.
Not 69.
I'll do 69 for you.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's not going to be anywhere near 420. So,
Hey.
Yes. Well done. Well done.
Cool. Anything else you guys need to get off your chest?
No,
I don't think so. I mean, I'm excited to keep doing these breakdowns. I'm hoping we find something interesting in the later half.
Indiana wide receivers, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some of those guys.
We have Elijah.
Yep.
Who was the guy you said that you want us to do? Chris Brazzers?
Brazel.
Chris Brazel. Yeah. Is he also the same team? Or am I wrong about that?
No, that's
no. He's on Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was making a porn website joke. But...
Oh. Jesus Christ! Oh my God, you're this guy has problems, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, my right forearm much bigger than my left. Anyway, let's move it.
But yeah, no, I got nothing else after that. Good God, let's get out of here, please, before he does something even crazier.
Well, thanks everyone for listening, especially those who checked in live. It's always awesome to give us comments and all that. Join our Discord. The link should be somewhere below here on the old YouTube channel. Yeah, man, it's gonna be draft season, so
subscription too. But yeah,
come ask for help, advice, just questions you have, whatever. I'm just gonna ramble on, but yeah, have a good night.
Catch us on the socials at Dynasty Underdog. Peace out, people.
That too.